the vast tapestry of aviation history, few aircraft have sparked as much debate over their aesthetics as the Amiot 143, often dubbed one of the ugliest planes ever to grace the skies. This French bomber from the 1930s looked like a patchwork of mismatched parts, as if its designers tossed elegance out the window in favor of sheer determination. Yet, beneath its ungainly exterior lies a tale of resilience and service. Conceived during a period of rapid aviation advancements, the aircraft was meant to be a jack-of-all-trades for the French Air Force, tackling bombing, reconnaissance, and even escort duties. Despite being outdated almost from the moment it rolled off the production line, the plane played a significant role in the early days of World War II, soldiering on long after its sleeker rivals had faded. Hopefully, you'll find its story as fascinating as its appearance is peculiar. To understand this bomber, let's journey back to the late 1920s, when the seeds of this machine were first sown. The story of the aircraft begins in 1928, when the French Air Ministry issued a bold specification for a new type of plane called the multiples de combat. Inspired by the theories of Italian General WWII, this concept envisioned a versatile aircraft capable of day and night bombing, long-range reconnaissance, and bomber escort. The goal was to create a single plane that could do it all, saving precious funds for the newly independent French Air Force, which was grappling with tight budgets in the interwar years. France, still recovering upon the economic scars of the First World War, saw this multi-role aircraft as a way to modernize its air forces without breaking the bank. The nation's aviation industry was buzzing with innovation, but financial constraints forced designers to prioritize practicality over ambition. The call went out, and manufacturers across the country scrambled to submit their designs, each hoping to secure a lucrative contract. Among the contenders were Blériot, Breguet, and SPCA, but it was Avion Amiot, led by the visionary Félix Amiot, that rose to the challenge. Félix Amiot was a trailblazer in French aviation, renowned for his commitment to all-metal construction, a cutting-edge approach in an era when many aircraft still relied on wood and fabric. His team set to work on the Amiot 140, a high-winged cantilever monoplane designed to meet the Air Ministry's ambitious requirements. The plane featured a robust all-metal frame with corrugated skinning for strength and a fixed tailwheel undercarriage. It was designed to carry a crew of 5, a pilot, navigator bombardier, radio operator, and 2 gunners stationed in nose and dorsal turrets. A standout feature was the glazed gondola beneath the forward fuselage, giving the bombardier a clear view and firing arc. This design promised versatility, but it also hinted at the compromises that would define the aircraft's future. Development, however, was far from smooth. The aircraft was intended to be powered by 2 515-kilowatt Lorraine 18G Orion water-cooled W engines, but these were unavailable, forcing the team to fit the first prototype with Hispano-Suiza 12 NBR engines. On April 12, 1931, the prototype took to the skies for its maiden flight, a milestone that marked progress but also revealed challenges. The plane's performance was underwhelming, and the design needed significant refinement. Over the next 2 years, Amiot's engineers tinkered with the airframe, adjusting everything from the landing gear to the bomb bay. By 1933, the French Air Ministry had shifted gears, replacing the Multiples de Combat program with the BCR, Bombardement, Chasse, Reconnaissance Initiative, which demanded even more from the aircraft. As an interim measure, an order for 40 planes with Gnome and Rhone, 14K radial engines was placed, but the design was evolving into what would become the definitive bomber. One can't help but smile at the irony. After years of bureaucratic wrangling, the plane seemed destined to chase ever-changing requirements like a dog after its own tail. The road to production was a long one, plagued by delays and technical hurdles. The first bomber took flight in August 1934, powered by improved Gnome-Rhone engines. After rigorous testing, including night maneuvers and weapons trials, the aircraft was accepted for service. Production began in 1935, with the first planes delivered to the French Air Force in July of that year. By 1937, 138 had been built, equipping multiple bomber groups. But the 7-year development cycle had taken its toll. Aviation technology had surged forward, with retractable landing gear and streamlined designs becoming the norm. The aircraft, with its fixed gear and boxy frame, seemed out of step with trends before it even entered service. Yet, the French Air Force pressed on, banking on its versatility to fill critical roles. The bomber's prolonged gestation reflects the challenges of the interwar years, when ambition often outpaced resources, yet it emerged ready to serve, a testament to Félix Amiot's perseverance. Now, let's dive into the technical details of this bomber. The aircraft was a behemoth for its time, stretching 18.24 meters in length. That's 59 feet 10 inches, and boasting a wingspan of 24.53 meters, or 80 feet 6 inches. Its height reached 5.68 meters, about 18 feet 8 inches, making it as tall as a two-story building. With an empty weight of 5,455 kilograms, 12,026 pounds, and a maximum takeoff weight of 10,360 kilograms, 22,840 pounds. It was no lightweight. Imagine a small house with wings, and you're not far off. This hefty frame was constructed entirely of duralumin, a lightweight aluminum alloy with corrugated skinning that added strength while keeping weight in check, a clever engineering trick for the era. Powering the plane were two Gnome 14 Kiers, or K-Joshers, 14-cylinder air-cooled radial engines, each churning out 640 kilowatts, or 858 horsepower. These engines propelled the aircraft to a maximum speed of 295 kilometers per hour, 183 miles per hour, which was respectable in the mid-1930s, but sluggish by World War II standards. Its range stretched to 1,300 kilometers, 810 miles, and it could climb to a service ceiling of 7,500 meters, 24,600 feet. To put that in perspective, it could fly about as far as from Paris to Berlin, but at a pace akin to a leisurely drive on today's highways. The engines were reliable, but their placement high on the wings meant the crew could access them mid-flight through the thick wing structure, a handy feature for long missions, though one hopes they packed a warm jacket for the job. The bomber's design was a mix of innovation and oddity. Its fixed undercarriage, encased in large aerodynamic fairings, was a glaring anachronism. While contemporaries like the British Handley Page Hampton were tucking their wheels away for speed, this plane proudly displayed its landing gear, as if declaring, "I'm in no rush." This choice dragged down its performance, making it an easy target in combat. Another quirky feature was the pilot's open cockpit, exposed to the elements, while the gunners and bombardier enjoyed enclosed positions. One can only imagine the pilot, bundled up against the wind, envying his crewmates' cozy turrets during a chilly flight over the Alps. Yet, the glazed gondola under the fuselage was a stroke of genius, giving the bombardier a panoramic view for aiming bombs and firing defensively. This all-around visibility was a rare advantage, ensuring no enemy fighter could sneak up unnoticed. Armament consisted of 4 7.5mm MAC 1934 machine guns, one each in the nose turret, dorsal turret, and forward and rear positions in the ventral gondola. This setup provided a decent defensive arc, though the guns lacked the punch to deter faster, better-armed fighters. For bombing, the plane could carry 800 kilograms, 1,760 pounds, of bombs internally and another 800 kilograms externally, totaling 1,600 kilograms, 3,527 pounds. Compared to the German Dornier Do-17, which was faster and more agile, the bomber's bomb load was competitive, but its slow speed and light defensive armament left it vulnerable. The all-metal construction, however, made it surprisingly durable, able to withstand punishment that would down lesser planes. This robustness was a saving grace, as the aircraft would need every ounce of toughness in the battles to come. The crew of 5 worked in a cramped but functional environment. The navigator bombardier, stationed in the gondola, doubled as a gunner, while the radio operator kept communication lines open. The nose and dorsal gunners were tasked with fending off attackers, a daunting job given the plane's sluggishness. The pilot, braving the open cockpit, had to navigate and command under challenging conditions. The thick wings, which housed fuel tanks and allowed engine access, were a marvel of practicality, but the overall design prioritized function over form. Compared to sleeker bombers of the era, the aircraft was a workhorse, not a racehorse, built to endure rather than excel. Its materials and construction reflected the transitional nature of 1930s aviation, bridging the gap between the biplanes of the First World War and the streamlined monoplanes of the Second. When World War II erupted in September 1939, the bomber was still a mainstay of the French Air Force, despite its obsolescence. Approximately 87 remained in frontline service, equipping 5 metropolitan bomber groups, GB 1/34 and 2/34 in the north, GB 1/38 and 2/38 in the east, and GB 2/63 in North Africa, which was transitioning to newer aircraft. The German invasion of Poland and the subsequent declaration of war by France and Britain set the stage for the aircraft's first operational tests. During the Phoney War from September 1939 to May 1940. These planes conducted reconnaissance missions and leaflet drops over German territory. Flying under the cover of darkness, they scattered propaganda pamphlets, a relatively safe task given the lack of aerial combat. These missions showcased the bomber's range, one of its few strengths, as it could reach deep into enemy territory alongside the larger Farman F-222. The German invasion of France on May 10, 1940 marked a turning point for the French Air Force and the bomber. The rapid advance of German forces through the Low Countries in France overwhelmed Allied defenses, thrusting the aircraft into a desperate struggle. The plane was pressed into high-stakes bombing missions against German bridges, marshalling yards, and airfields. The French Air Force, outnumbered and outgunned, relied on every available aircraft to slow the enemy's advance. This period, known as the Battle of France, exposed the bomber's vulnerabilities, but also highlighted its resilience. The aircraft's slow speed and outdated design made it a relic in a war dominated by faster, more advanced machines, yet its crews flew with courage, determined to make a difference in a rapidly deteriorating situation. On May 14, 1940, a daylight raid by 12 bombers targeting bridges at Sedan turned disastrous. German fighters and anti-aircraft fire decimated the formation, with most aircraft shot down. Capitaine Jean Dubois, a pilot in GB 1/34, later recounted the chaos, joking that flying the bomber in daylight was like riding a bicycle in a lion's den. Brave, but not recommended. The French Air Force quickly pivoted to night operations, where the plane proved more effective. The cover of darkness shielded it from enemy fighters, allowing it to deliver bombs with greater safety. Between May and June 1940, the bombers flew 197 sorties, dropping over 153,600 kilograms of explosives on German targets like airfields in Munich, Bonn, and Wittlich. Remarkably, only 4 were lost, a testament to their durability and the advantage of night missions. One notable mission involved a crew from GB 1/38, who, despite heavy flak, successfully bombed a German airfield near Wittlich. The radio operator, shivering in the unheated fuselage, quipped that the plane was so slow, he could have knitted a scarf during the return flight. Their aircraft, riddled with holes, limped back to base, proving its rugged construction. These night raids highlighted the bomber's niche. It wasn't fast or flashy, but it could take a beating and keep flying. By the time the Franco-German armistice was signed on June 22, 1940, fewer than 50 had been lost, a surprisingly low number given their vulnerabilities. The aircraft's ability to endure punishment and complete missions under adverse conditions earned it grudging respect from crews who relied on its stubborn reliability. After the armistice, the surviving bombers found new roles under the Vichy French Air Force, primarily in North Africa. Here, they were repurposed for transport and liaison duties, ferrying supplies and personnel across the desert. Some were captured by German forces and used as transports or trainers, while a single example served with the Air Force of the independent state of Croatia. The plane's versatility, once a design goal, became its saving grace in these later years. However, by 1943, only 11 remained in the unoccupied zone, with just 3 airworthy. The last were retired in February 1944, ending a service life that defied expectations. Crews often spoke of the aircraft with a mix of frustration and fondness, respecting its toughness even as they cursed its sluggishness. Its operational history is a study in adaptation, proving that even an outdated design could find a place in the chaos of war. The bomber may not have been the star of World War II aviation, but its legacy endures as a testament to resilience. It embodied the challenges of the French Air Force in the interwar years, a period marked by economic constraints and rapid technological shifts. Designed to be a multi-role marvel, it fell short of greatness, but never stopped serving. No complete examples survive today, but photographs, scale models, and records in French aviation archives keep its memory alive. You might stumble across a reference to the aircraft in a documentary or a detailed model in a hobby shop, a quiet nod to its place in history. Hopefully, this shines a light on this forgotten gem of French aviation. The plane wasn't sleek or celebrated, but it flew, fought, and endured against the odds. In a world obsessed with beauty, it proved that function could triumph over form, earning its place as the plucky workhorse that refused to quit, even if its looks inspired more chuckles than cheers.